What is up, everybody? We are live. Aaron the Dog back with Lewis of Norton MMA for another Bellator Breakdown. This week, we're back with Bellator 270. Peter Queally versus Patricky PItbull for the lightweight title. Just like everybody drew it up. That's Patricky, not Patricio. Patricio, I guess, still recovering. And this is our rematch title fight. Timestamps will be available as always. Want to mention that. Yesterday, got a comment after the timestamps were already in there. That was like first 5 minutes was you yapping about past bets. I was like, dude, the comment was right underneath the timestamps comment where they could with all the fights there. So timestamps as always, but yeah, we're here for 270. It's live from Dublin. Normal time for you again. For us here in the States, I think it's starting at like noon or something. Main card by 3 o'clock on a Friday. Also have an LFA, which the breakdown will be coming out with tomorrow for that. And then UFC 268 week, of course, which I'll be there live for. So how you doing, Lewis?
Yeah, not bad. I'm really jealous that you're going to that. We haven't had a UFC come over here, obviously, in a couple of years now. So
yeah, hopefully next year they can get back over there. But yeah, it's been a pretty active run of fights for me to go to, honestly, this year. This is going to be my fourth, so I've gotten very lucky to be able to travel for some. I'm also going to end the year at 269, watching Jillian Robertson get a win, hopefully, over Facilio Cachoeira. So, but that's for another day. Today, we obviously have Bellator. We have Bellator 270, as I said, from Dublin. So I won't delay it much more. We'll hop in here. I apologize for the miscue on the time. I thought you were 5 hours behind me. You're 4 hours behind me. So learned that today. That was good. We live and we learn. But, time zones, they're stupid. Kind of weird start to the card if this is how the card really does start. I will say that first and foremost. But we're starting at 185. Fabian Edwards taking on Robert Fonseca. Got to be honest, really hard to find any tape on Robert Fonseca somehow in all his fights. It was hard to find a lot of them. There was some sort of like musician also with the name Robert Fonseca. Maybe that made it a little bit more difficult. I don't know. But yeah, taking on brother of Leon Edwards, Fabian Edwards, 9-2, 13-4 here. I'm gonna be taking a look at Robert Pauto Fonseca first. As I said, 13-4, 38 years old, out of Brazil, Ducks team. Never heard of it. Currently on a one-fight win streak over 1-4 opponent. Knocked him out with a kick and punches, mostly known for his grappling. However, not a ton of notable wins on the record here. The losses haven't come to the most notable guys either. He did lose to a 23-4 guy, but other than that, since his debut, MMA debut, was against Adriano Martins, though, which I thought was funny. So, back in 2004, he lost Adriano Martins in the Amazonias regional. But besides that, don't know a lot of these guys. He's been knocked out a few times, knocked out in 18 seconds by Andres Grizibic. Don't know who that is. But yeah, Fabian Edwards kind of had a rough go of it in his last couple. 2-fight losing streak. He has lost to Austin Vanderford. In the last one, Costello Van Steenis by split. That was a close fight over with the Bellator Euro Series. So not terrible losses there. Split win over Mike Shipman being his best win probably. Other than that, Lee Chadwick was killing himself getting down to 185. He did win that fight though. So Kent Kapoon armbarred him, or Kapanen. Sorry if I said his name wrong. Not known for my pronunciations. I just feel like this is really being spoon-fed for Fabian to knock out a Brazilian here. So I got Fabian Edwards. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I think, hard to disagree, because you look at the wins that Fonseca has, and when he had 12 fights on his record, he's fighting people making their debuts, and he's starching them. He's been fighting for 17 years, and he's got equal amount of fights. So it's clearly like a side project for him. He's not making any money from it, and they've given him a contract to fight someone with some notoriety. You know, English people know who Fabian Edwards is, mainly because of his brother, yes, but they started at the same time. He's got very decent striking, and losing to Austin Vanderford isn't really anything of a big deal to me because he's on the rise. He's fighting Musasi soon, isn't he? So, or meant to be. But yeah, I mean, this is tailor made for Fabian. Whether he's actually going to do it is a different story. But it's supposed to knock him out. That's the plan. But
yeah, he's supposed to originally fight Charlie Ward. I think that would have been a pretty easy matchup, or simple matchup at least for Fabian, of what you do to beat Charlie Ward. I think Fonseca kind of the same type of thing. You're seeing the same. He was a minus 280 against Charlie Ward, minus 300, so a 3-1 favorite against Robert Fonseca, plus 250. I mean, I would expect for that line to keep kind of going up till fight night.
That seems low to me. Yeah,
I'd put him in a parlay there. So.
Also surprised it's the first fight, if it is to be true. Yeah,
sometimes Tapology kind of screws that up, so I wouldn't hold it too much into account there. You know, Fabian also 6'1", 79.5-inch reach, can have about a 5-inch reach advantage here. 28 years old versus 38 years old. Just a lot
trained
of
to better people as well. You know,
a lot of
his brother. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. With Fonseca, I haven't been able to find a lot of his fights, so this is going a little bit on paper with him. But yeah, all that said, 5'11" versus 6'1", 79, 80-inch reach. I just think Fabian needs this one and takes this one pretty handily. So I'd be surprised when the lines release if it's a 3-1, but as of now, it's a 3-1 as of bestfightodds.com. But that will close out our opener here. Next fight, this one has been interesting to watch tape on. Gokhan Sarakam versus Rob Beach. Sorry, Rob Beach is a piece of shit. 3 different fights I watched of this guy. He cheated in 3 different ways. Eye poke, eye gouges in one. Blatant fence grabs in another. Low blows in another fight. And he also faked a glove touch to take down his elderly opponent and beat him up, and then celebrate as if he had done something. So that is all I gotta say about Rob Beach. I don't know if he is a guy. I believe he is an Englishman. So you can tell me if you know anything about him. He's from Merseyside, England. 6'3".
Merseyside, that's Liverpool. Yeah.
Okay. So in fights, HAMMA fight camp, which I know is a somewhat notable fight camp, but that's all I gotta say. 5'2", 6'3". Cheated in 4 different fights I watched. So the guy is kind of the Augusto Sakai realm of things, where just seems to run into a lot of fouls. Gokhan Sarakam, the Turkish fighter, 6'3" as well, 76-inch reach, 5-1. Won his last fight out with Bellator against Jaffe Holton, 1-0 fighter. Knocked him out with ground and pound. Looked really good. In that fight, was coming off a loss to Steve Mowry in his Bellator debut. Came in the second round. Steve Mowry ended up getting him with a Kimura. Steve Mowry's got a lot of guys with Kimuras. It did seem kind of like he has been off since October of 2020, but the guy looks like he's in tremendous shape. He looks to have good technical striking, comes in around 240, 245, so still fleet of foot on the feet. And as long as he gets cheated by Beach, he's going to, after the first 2 minutes, if he doesn't knock him out, just completely tool him. So Rob Beach, not a fan. No way I'm picking him.
No, as an Englishman, so I'm not picking him either. So, no, I had Gokhan winning this one quite comfortably, to be honest. I think that's a nice padded record for Rob. But and that's saying something when you've only got 7 fights to name and you've already got a padded record. It's
yeah. It's just there's not a whole lot I'm saying here. Gokhan is going to be in most of my parlays. I'm going to be honest with you, especially early on. Even though he's a minus 400, I think that's completely understandable. Plus 300 on Beach. I would just be shocked to see Beach win. Beach seems like he is being brought in to lose again. Which Bellator was getting away from this matchmaking for a while, but now they've kind of merged back into it in some of these fights. I'll be honest. This next fight, however, I really like. Maybe is my fight of the night, if I'm being honest. Asiel Adoja, I believe is how you say his last name. The Frenchman fighting Kieran Harvey, the Scottish fighter. This is a really good matchup of two featherweight prospects here. Very different featherweight prospects also. I'll be breaking down the Scottish fighter, Kieran Harvey, first 23 and a half years old, 5'9", fighting off high-level martial arts, 4-1. Really good wrestler, really good pressure, cage control, decent striking. The striking's definitely coming along at 23, so working at it for sure. But, yeah, good overall MMA game from Kieran for the most part. Manny Akpan in his last fight with Cage Warriors back in June. Just really it was a very good fight, but eventually got it to where he's kind of got a good, powerful arm triangle, got into the mount, worked it, did the same thing with Hussein Garbani in his debut as well. Just mostly looks for the striking by way of wrestling in most of his fights. Had a close fight with Milal Audi that he went to decision with the Celtic Gladiator back last year. But, yeah, definitely heavy pressure, good wrestling, good young talent, but definitely on the feet, still a little bit looping, a little bit rudimentary with the striking, if I'm being honest. And taking on Asiel Adojo. Asiel has a ton of Muay Thai fights online. Watch quite a bit of them. He's been fighting Muay Thai since 16. I always like that X factor because what he's been working on in his MMA game plan has been his wrestling and his grappling, and he's making a point of it, and it's showing in his fights. He is only 2-1 in his pro career, 6 foot 71.5-inch reach for the 22-year-old, now fighting out of Dublin with SBG Ireland. Fought with UAE back in September, got a submission win, first submission win of his career. Before that, got a ground and pound finish with Bellator over Nathan Jesserman, a fellow Muay Thai striker. Struck with him really well, then used the wrestling, got it down. Lost his professional debut by split decision to a fellow Ono fighter in Konstantin Blanita. Konstantin has not fought since then. Kind of surprised he wasn't on this card, being Irish, but either way, just definitely Asiel learning on the job here. You're seeing a 2-2 amateur career, but losing a lot of split, or losing 2 of his 3 fights he's lost by split, I should say, including a guy with 5-1 as an amateur. Has made it very clear he's working towards the wrestling here. Kieran has to be on top, putting the pressure on here, I think, to win this fight. And he definitely can get it down, get that arm triangle. He really gets it's kind of one of these wrestlers and grapplers who gets to that position where he sets up the arm triangle or controls from the top. So I could see that for him, but I think Asiel has been preparing for that. Going to use really long distance striking, precise striking. The striking is miles apart between these two. And I think Asiel is going to be able to defensively wrestle and move enough to win this fight. I think it's a really close fight. I think it goes the distance here either way. Either see a wrestling dominant decision by Kieran, in my opinion, or more of a Muay Thai kind of striking dominant from Asiel, maybe with some takedowns in the 3rd round once he tires out Kieran, because I do think the gas is on Asiel's side. Pretty clear I'm on Asiel's side here. I like him quite a bit. So I'm going to go with the decision here. I like the camp. I like the confidence, 22 years old. A specialist being so focused in another area. We've seen other specialists be able to really develop quickly, and he seems to be on that track. A submission win his last time, a ground and pound finish before then. Things you like to see out of a Muay Thai striker. So Great fight here, though.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said is important. The fact that he is, learning defensive wrestling very quickly because he has such an advantage in striking against this level of opponent. But there's a couple of things that worry me. He loves to use underhooks against the cage and grind people. And for someone that's not got many fights, it's really rare especially European fighters and especially UK fighters using wrestling. It just doesn't really happen. And he's got a really good gas tank. I know Azal also has I've seen some tape and he's got really decent gas tank in Muay Thai, but it's different when you're getting dragged over and over again. If he is able to defend it, he'll have the upper hand in the cardio. But if he loses 1 or 2 takedowns and he lays on him for 2 minutes, he ain't getting up to around the same volume as he normally would. I'm gonna go with the Scott on this one. Okay. I think it's a very tight fight to call. It's a flip, it's a flip of a coin in my head as well.
It's literally a pick 'em.
But I like what he's doing. I like the wrestling. I always side with a wrestler, especially with low MMA experience. And once as a Muay Thai fighter myself, once a Muay Thai fighter, always a Muay Thai fighter. When he gets shoved on his back, he's gonna kick it harder than he's ever kicked, and then he's gonna let someone slip and he'll get dragged down again.
Yeah, the money has come in on Osael. He was an underdog, and it has shifted to a complete pick'em. It is honestly either Muay Thai performance or wrestling performance here. Kira's looked really good, and both these guys, 22 and 24. Yeah. It's the type of fight you could see again in Bellator for sure down the line. So, very good matchmaking here. It was interesting because, again, don't trust Tapology, but on Tapology here, it says that Kira is a minus 360 favorite, plus 285 for Osael. It was never that. So always, always double check your sources here. Tapology is great until it's not great. That's how I feel about Tapology. But next fight is at 170 and. I apologize. Might have to step away for one moment here in a second, but I'll set you up so that you're not kind of left here. I run a dog business. Sometimes the people come a little bit early to get their dogs. So next fight is at 170 here between Bobby Pallett and Nicolo Soli. That is what I'll go with. I'm sure it sounds much better than that when they say it, but it's me. Wales versus Italy here. 5-0 Bobby Pallett, the body snatcher. Super fun fighter to watch against another monkey, the Monkey King, and Nicolo Soli out of SBG Ireland, HAMMA again here. So same as Beach's camp. Nothing against that, but before I go into it too much, I'm going to actually send this over to you for a second. I will be back in 2 seconds, Lewis. So kind of give me your thoughts on this fight, and then I'll be right back. Apologize, everybody.
So basically, the way I see I'm a big fan of Bobby Pallett. And Bobby Pallett, from the UK, if you see anyone in Cage Warriors build a hype and get the promotion behind them and not want to let them go, they've got something special. Graham Boylan is very good at spotting the talent within Cage Warriors. Now, when he fought Dylan Manning in Cage Warriors, he won by arm triangle choke, which is, if you haven't seen that fight, it's a very good fight. It's round 2, I believe. But he showed at that point how good he could be. And from then on, he's beaten, I think it's Daly and Bennett. I'm going to wait for Aaron to confirm that. But the fluidity in his movement and how he's just dealing with people. When someone comes in from the gym and they're just absolutely bossing it and beasting people, that he's going to go far. He's going to rack up a 5, 6, 7, 8 win streak. He's going to go unbeaten until he reaches the next organization, be it the UFC, be it ONE, be it whoever, PFL at this point in time. Bellator is mixed for me because most people have a tin can spongy record. But Bobby Pallett, to me, is the real deal. And he's fighting Nicolo Soli, which is, he's okay, is the best way I would describe him. You know, he lost to George Hardwick in his last fight, and George is a decent fighter. George is very good. I think he was either 5 wins, no losses in that fight, or 5-1, 5-2, something like that.
All right, sorry about that.
No, you're all good, man. But yeah,
go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just saying. Finally on Solly that he's a submission guy, but fighting someone like Bobby Pallett, who is a mixed martial artist, and I was saying that he's got, I don't know how much you heard or if any, he's got the hype behind him of Cage Warriors, and they didn't want to let him go, and he ended up moving on because he knew he could get better deals elsewhere. He knew his worth when he had very little fights. He's got that. Yeah,
Bobby Pallett definitely has that kind of
star power. I'm a massive fan of him. Yeah, because I was saying when he fought Dylan Manning, it was just another level of. You wouldn't think he's had 2 fights at the time.
Yeah, he only had 2 fights. Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, all of his fights are available online. Sorry about Chico barking, of course, but he was supposed to be facing a Justin Burlinson in this spot, or last year, actually, I should say. So he's been trying to get a fight for a couple of years now. That's definitely a concern of mine with Bobby, but otherwise, he hits so hard. That fight against Ben Bennett, he beat him from pillar to post for 3 rounds before Ben Bennett finally went down. I mean, the wrestling's there. He definitely is a legit 170er. Looks like a middleweight. Honestly, we got. They seem to want to put a few Italian grapplers on this card. It's kind of interesting. The Italians they chose to have come over here, but 24 years old again, so young guy in Solili as well, 3-1. Lost his last fight out to George Hardwick, and it was a good fight. And he was favored against George Hardwick in that spot. So, I mean, I think it could be good, but Bobby is coming in here to, I think, stuff takedowns and then knock him out. That would be my pick.
Yeah, nothing to disagree with there, mate. And I would be surprised if you see Bobby next year on something like the Contender Series if Bellator don't offer him what he wants, because I think he knows his self-worth, which is why he left Cage Warriors. Yeah,
I mean, -275 favorite right now against Nico. I love that price. You know, you're not going to get much better line than that at this point. So Bobby, 30 years old here, definitely just much larger. Again, Nico fought at 155 in his last fight. I just think this is going to be a rough one for him. I'm surprised it's, again, low on the card, but, either way. Next fight at 205, Lee Chadwick, who I talked about earlier, taking on Arunas Adurvikis. That is the last time I'm saying that. Arunas against Lee Chadwick here at 205. I'll be breaking down the South African, I believe, or the Lithuanian, I apologize. The Lithuanian Arunas Adurvikis, now fighting out of England, 6'3", 76-inch reach out of London Shoot Fighters Academy, 15-4. Younger, I believe in his 20s still, and on an 8-fight win streak. So really, a lot of good stuff going on for him. Did beat James Milhorn in his Bellator debut by stoppage in the 3rd round. It was back in 2019. Hasn't fought since February of 2019, actually. So he's been off for quite some time. A lot of KO, TKO finishes on his career. Not a lot of guys I've recognized. Some of them don't have records. Very few of them have positive records. So a little bit of a build-up, but did beat James Mulhern. So, but that was Mulhern. But kind of in a
fight Carl Moore though. That's not a bad one. Carl Moore was the ex-Cage Warriors champion.
Yeah, Carl Moore would have been an interesting one. Bellator 240, I think, completely fell out, if I remember correctly. Kind of set up in a similar matchup here with another veteran in Lee Chadwick. Lee Chadwick, former 185er. Thank God he went up to 205, but problem at 205, he's a little bit undersized for 205, but he was just killing himself at 185. 26-15. He's been around a while, 36 years old, 6 foot, 72-inch reach. Going to have a 4.5-inch reach disadvantage. But I have Altheron submission wrestling, so you know what he wants to do. Last fought with Bellator in October of last year. Ended up getting an arm triangle finish. Had some grappling bouts as well in there. Lost a split decision to Carl Moore, so not a bad split to have on your record at all. Also defeated James Mulheron. Did lose to Fabian Edwards, albeit by decision. Victor Chung, he got a win over with Cage Warriors, as well as Andy Milzano. Or Melizolo. So a few positive records, definitely better level of competition for Chadwick. Very experienced, kind of knows what he's going in there to do. I just don't know enough about Arunas. It's kind of a little bit of a guess. So I don't know. Lee Chadwick, I'm just not sure about if I could really pick him, honestly, but I think that
it's hard for you to pick a journeyman, isn't it?
He's a journeyman who gets finished quite a bit in his losses as well, especially lately. He does have a lot of good experience though, and I just don't know enough about Arunas. I'll take Arunas, but I'm not putting $1 on this one.
I'd take Arunas as well because he's training with shoot fighters. That's with these Modestas Bukauskas. Obviously, just got cut, but he should not have been cut for a start at the UFC, in my opinion. And then you've got MVP, people like that at London Shoot Fighters. It's a very, very good gym. That they do not. It's almost like, remember Aldo's gym in Brazil. It's they just go in and fight. That's how it originated.
Yeah, Novo Young.
They just went in and just had a war. Obviously, it's better now, but there's no gimmies. You go in, you bleed in there. You know it's tough. I think Arunas, coming off the wins, I think he is a light heavyweight for a start. That's a big thing, especially for Lee, because Lee's going to have a lot of size disadvantage, especially in the grappling. I know he's a grappler, but the long limbs of Arunas here, I've got him controlling the distance a lot more. I'm a little more confident picking Arunas than you are, but that's only because I know of him, I think.
Okay.
It's Lithuanian, but if you talk to him, he sounds like he's a Cockney. So I'd go with Arunas on this one as well. But if it is a close betting line, I would stay away from it.
Yeah, and it's not. It's pretty wide here. Minus 310 for Arunas, plus 225 on Lee Chadwick. So
I think it's closer than that. Yeah, I think it's closer than that because it's a proper test. Lee's a good guy.
Yeah, Lee's definitely a good guy if he beats him. Good for Arunas. Again, the time off is something that's a concern for me, for sure. But maybe it will be much ado about nothing. We'll see. Next fight here at 170. I'm just trying with some of these fights. I don't mean to be kind of breezing through some of these, but if there's not much to say, I'm not going to try to add much to say. It's just we've got Cage Warriors this weekend. We've got Bellator, we've got LFA, we've got Contender Series tonight videos on the channel right now. UFC 268. If there's not the information there, and I'm just gambling at this point, maybe I'll gamble because I'm a degen, but I'm not going to advise other people as if I know what I'm talking about with certain fights. So either way, next fight, just a little unnecessary disclaimer that someone can pick apart now. Ashley Reese against Luka Polklit. Is that how you say it? That's a pretty dangerous one to say. Yeah, that's a dangerous one for me to say. So I'm going to just steer clear. Luka P. Mr. P versus Reese. Mr. Ashley Reese at 170. This is an interesting fight. Been fun to watch. Luka's fights the Moldovan, 32 years old, 170, 5'10", versus the 5'10", 170er out of England, 33 years old. Ashley the Beast Reese. A couple of veterans here with not a ton of experience, so interesting, but older guys in their career. 6'1" Luka P first, 32 years old, on a 6-fight win streak out of Moldova. So not gonna exactly hear of the guys he's fighting, although he has fought his last 6 with Eagles fighting championship and lost his debut in 2012 to Maribek Taisimov. He started his debut against a 16-3 Maribek Taisimov. I don't know who that is. That will make you take off 4 years before you fight MMA again. He took off 4 years, realized, there's levels to this. Did have no amateur fights either. So just they do things differently over in that part of the country. That's just or the part of the world, I should say.
It's the Russian organization, right? Eagles fighting?
Yeah, Eagles is the Russian organization. Took on a 7-4 opponent as an 0-1 opponent. Ended up getting 3 of his 4 or 5 wins by submission, an elbow win against Flavio Pena in his last fight by elbow, or an elbow win by elbows, obviously a 17-5 opponent. Tons of good experience on his record, though. Maribek Taisumov, even in 2012. 7-1-1 opponent. He rear naked choked in the 3rd round. 2nd round wins, some decision wins, quick wins as well. I mean, he's got a little bit of everything. He's been really fun to watch. He has been off since February of 2019. So, again, it's a guy who hasn't fought in his 30s. That's how long he's been off. So, definitely a concern here coming up against Ashley the Beast Reese, another HAMMA product. I believe it's just HAMMA, or is it HAMA? Do you know? About this? Know. Yeah, it's a smaller gym, but they for some reason got to deal with Bellator for this event to get like all their fighters on the card. But 5'10", 69-inch reach, much more compact. 170er here, Ashley Reese. Lost his last fight out. So, it was with Bellator. It was actually his 3rd fight with Bellator. He's 2-1. Got a knockout finish in Newcastle. Went to a decision with a 7-0-1 opponent in Birmingham, and then lost to 3-1 Stefano Paterno, who we've seen a few times. Also has a loss to Adam Proctor, very good prospect to a ton of guys. Are going to have losses too, frankly. Few punch finishes, few rear naked chokes. Kind of, your traditional English boxer with a little bit of the wrestling here. I think Luca should take this one. My only concern is, kind of concerned for both guys. They've both been off for 2 years. They're in their mid-30s now, and but I think Luca gets this stopped.
I'm gonna go with Ashley Reese for this, man, because the losses he's got. I got back in English. The losses he's got. It's a really good guys, but they're all decision as well. So he's going to be learning from these mistakes. He's not getting finished. He's a tough dude. He only has 2 losses on his record anyway, and they're both to very, very decent people. So I've got Ashley Reese in this for me, and I think he's fought better people. He's got the Bellator experience as well, which I think does matter from past experience of people that are just coming in. And there's a guy that's had 5 or 6 fights with Bellator. Normally, they know how it works. The whole promotion, even like the walk-in. I've heard fighters say the walk-in's like wrestling. It was just bizarre, walking out with all the lights and, that sort of stuff throws people. But I know that's a petty way to say it, but I think actually Reese all day.
Yeah, and Reese is actually the underdog in this spot at plus 150. Minus 200 on Luka Polklit. They see... Eagles fighting championship guys coming over to Bellator seem to get highly rated, and so 6-0 over there again, and his only loss being to Maribek Taisumov in his debut is definitely notable as well. It's our first disagreement. Totally fair there. Ashley Reese, the underdog, is with Lewis there, but it should be a good one. It's a little bit odd, the 32 and 33-year-olds here who've been off for so long, but such is MMA in the COVID era. By the way, the main card is only 3 fights, so we have a 12-fight prelim card according to this. So I don't know what's going on in Bellator. But next fight is at 145 here between Elias Bulad and George Sazoos. Just making all the easy names for me here in Dublin. But we'll be breaking this one down. Featherweight fight here. Elias, known as the Blade of the Netherlands, taking on George Sazu, the Frenchman out of DNA Fighter, 5-1 against 2-0. So, and Mike's Gym, by the way, for the Netherlands, for the Dutch fighters. So always good to see Mike's Gym showing up. 5-1 Frenchman, Mike Sazoos, last fought at bantamweight on a 4-fight win streak here. The level of opponents is decent, a 5-2. I always forget how to say his name, but he is in the UFC now. Had a great fight with Jeff Molina recently. Kieran Aori. I know it's not said that way, though. It's said completely different than how it's spelled, but has fought him over at the China Regional. That's very impressive back in 2016. Got a win over him. He's now fighting in the UFC, so has a win over a UFC opponent. 7-2 Mohid Sadoun in his last fight, but that was in November of 2018. He's been off since then, had a fight in February of 2019 that fell through, and then I don't really know what happened for George here. And so that's definitely a concern coming in against the Mike's Gym representative and Elias Bulade, also known as The Blade, because Bulade, I get it now. That's very clever. 26 years old, 5'10", 70.5-inch reach, SB Gym, as well as Mike's Gym. 2-fight streak, has fought with Bellator in both of his fights in MMA. They got a knee finish with knees in his debut. And then got a decision win last February. Also has a pro kickboxing record, a little over 500 there. Has fought with K1. So definitely a stand-up fighter first and foremost. George Sazu wasn't able to find a lot on him. I would assume Elias Bulade is being brought in, or George Sazu is being brought in for Elias Bulade, but I think this is going to be a close one. I'll go with George Sazoos, but it's a complete guess. So I'm not going to be betting it too heavily, if at all.
Based on just what I know of them both, there's very little on Sazu, and I like K1. That's high level. That's very high level competition, and coming round in your mid-20s from that, I think he's wanting to push on now in MMA. So I only can understand that he's doing the correct things with every other aspect, obviously, of the sport, hence grappling. I don't think you'd be worried about stand-up. So I'm going to go with another disagreement. Go with Elias.
Yes. All right. You got the favorite here in Elias Bulade at minus 200, plus 150 on George Sazoos. I do, I was able to see a little bit of tape, but again, not one I'm betting too heavily, honestly. So, you got the stand-up fighter here. Totally understandable disagreement, but all the best. All right, next fight is welterweight fight between two 0-0 fighters. And Stephen Costello and Youssef Nazakatov. We're going to make a deal here. We can't agree on this fight. That's just going to have to be the rule here. So we got a Manchester top team representative and Youssef Nazatov. Believe
you know who I'm going for then.
Yeah, you got the Manchester guy. So you got Youssef. I'll take Stephen Costello here. Youssef has no amateur bouts either. So just go ahead and throw him on. Stephen Costello, 4-3 as an amateur, SBG Ireland product. Lost to a Magomedov his last time out, so no shame in that. No matter who it is. Lost to Ian Gary. So he's got experience losing to good guys. He hasn't beat anybody. He beat a guy named Humberger. So that is our breakdown on Stephen Costello and Youssef Nazakatov. I'm going to take the SBG Ireland guy. You got the Manchester top team. Good luck, everybody out there.
Anyone betting on this is crazy.
If you're betting on this, please comment and tell us why in the comments, and I'll be sure to feature your analysis because it will be better than mine there. But yeah, good luck, guys. Congratulations on your pro debut in the middle of a Bellator card after Fabian Edwards. Next fight between Junior Morgan and Dara Kelly. The middle of this card is weird. This is a featherweight fight again against a 3-0 fighter, against an 0-0 fighter, and Dara Kelly, 35-year-old Junior Morgan out of Manchester top team. Two Manchester top team guys fighting back-to-back against a Helian, a Gracie Ireland SBG product. So SBG Ireland, again, Dara Kelly. Sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, if it's not Derek. 9-0 as an amateur, finally making his debut at 23 years old. That's extremely impressive, in all honesty. That's, plenty of tape out there on him as well. He's fought his amateur bouts with Clan Wars, which I don't really know about, but that's okay. I don't think, I think it's much more notable that he is getting some good competition guys against, like the Constantine Blanita guy who we brought up, who won his initial fight against, I'm totally blanking now, Asia Adojo. So definitely a good win to have on his record. 9 fights before going pro is tremendous. 9-0 is even more tremendous. As mostly submission wins, looks like a wrestler and grappler here. Junior Morgan.
Finishes.
Yeah, all finishes. Yeah, all 9 of his are finishes here. So this guy's definitely ready. Junior Morgan, 35 years old, mostly known as a striker, Manchester top team, 3 straight wins, hasn't fought since September of 2019, where he won by a legal knee against an 0-1 opponent, faced an 0-3 opponent, a 1-4 opponent. Yeah, I mean, there's a different level of opponents there. As an amateur, went 4-3, lost 3 decisions. Hasn't been submitted or finished ever in his career, amateur or pro. So definitely a tough guy, but I got to go with Dara Kelly here. Looks like he's a real deal. And maybe it gets pushed a little bit, but also he gets a finish by submission.
His name is floating around the regional circuit heavily. I think, and Irish names are crazy, but I think it's Dara. I think.
Dara,
but,
okay.
Yeah, like D-A-R-I, like said like that. But yeah, Dara Kelly is he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
he's to get that much amateur experience is going to pay off for him in the long run, easily. Yeah, I see him easily taking out Junior Morgan because from what I've seen of him, he's very. I don't want to slag him off too hard because he is 3-0 and he's he's at the basic steps of his.
His last win was an illegal knee.
Exactly, and he's 35 years old now. This kid is a few years younger than me, many years younger than me. But he's absolutely ridiculous. He's so fast. He's got everything. He's not a striker. He's not a grap. He's MMA. He is a mixed martial artist, and he's gonna whoop Junior Morgan. I would be shocked if he's not in people's parlays.
Yeah, this is in all my parlays. Honestly, minus 400. I think that price will be doubled by Friday. He's gonna be in Jalen Bates odds territory, I think. And
I think Bellator would be wise to match this kid well.
I mean, they're giving him a 3-0 opponent for his professional debut. They obviously expect quite a bit out of him. That's pretty impressive there. But yeah, we're in agreement there. Minus 400 on Durai, plus 275 on Junior Morgan. Waverly Coleman saying no bet there. I mean, you can put in some parlays though, man. I think you can, but you want to see it as a pro before you bet on it. 9-0 as an amateur against some very high level opponents who have gone on to become pros themselves that he's beat out. So I do think that good experience there for a guy making his debut. But fair enough, Waverly. Thank you for joining us, by the way. I haven't seen you before, but thank you for joining us. Next fight is at strawweight between Danny Nealon and Audrey Carachet. Man, Bellator female fights are tough, man. They just really you don't know what they're throwing at you at any point here. We got an Irish woman in Danny Nealon, very Irish name. SBG Ireland, imagine that, taking on Team Sorrel, such a French team name, and Audrey AK-47 Carachet. I'll be breaking down the 33-year-old French woman first out of Team Sorrel. Audrey is 7-5, 33 years old, 5'3". Lost her last fight out. It's just very easy to kind of tell when Bellator's kind of doing something, but she did lose to Mikol D. Segnani. Actually a very good striker herself and a good regional fighter over in Italy. So not a terrible loss. Before that, there was a no contest with Emily Mata. Never heard of her. 0-3, 0-1, 0-2 wins. Lost to a 1-3 fighter. She got rear naked choke, got armbarred by a 5-4 fighter, got armbarred by a 5-1 fighter, rear naked choked by a 1-3 fighter. Seems to have submission and grappling issues, to say the least. 4-0, Danny Nealon on SBG Ireland, fighting in Dublin, Ireland, on a 5-fight win streak. This is what's known as a squash match. I don't need to look into it too much further. She has a win by rear naked choke with Bellator already. It's going to be her 4th Bellator fight here. Danny Nealon, submission.
Especially with John Kavanagh, he's a jiu-jitsu wizard as well. So,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's made for her, isn't it? She's going to be up there. It's a can crusher match.
Yeah, minus 600. 6-1 favorite, largest favorite so far on the card, Danny Nealon.
That's cheap.
Well, it's not going to be that cheap for a while. We're going to see multiple approaching 4-digit odds by fight night here. Danny Nealon, better now if you're going to bet her. I will put her in a few long shot parlays, and that is it. Otherwise, I'll be probably making food during that fight. Also known as a steak fight to those of you who are new to the program here. But we're going to move on to the next fight here. And this fight here is maybe my fight of the night. This is a fantastic fight between Kieran Clark and Jordan Barton. I really like both these guys quite a bit. I'll be honest, you kind of put me on to Jordan Barton a little bit when you mentioned him. I kind of watched his tape a little extra closely afterwards, and I can get why you like this guy. He's super exciting, really, really high pace, high action fighter. 6-1 in 1 overall, 28 years old. Blackledge MMA product here. Fought his last fight out with Cage Warriors. Really, really good fight, or not with full contact. I apologize. Matthew Camilleri, really good KO there. Before that, against James Hendon with Cage Warriors, great fight there. No shame in losing to James Hendon at all. James Hendon, one of the best wrestlers and prospects in. Yeah, you could talk more about. I'll let you talk about him more because you will be able to. And really, I'm gonna actually let you talk more about Barton because you're gonna do him more justice. But I've liked what I've seen. A lot of KO finishes. Does have an armbar finish as well, but definitely more of a brawler and good defensive wrestling. Going to need that defensive wrestling here against Kieran Clark. Again, another SBG Ireland product here. They got the whole gym going this Saturday or Friday. Last fought in October of 2020 with Bellator, took on 8-1 James Ndoye and just kind of schooled him with the wrestling for 3 rounds. Really impressive. James Ndoye did not look very engaged with the fight, though. I'll be honest, it's a good 8-1 win, but definitely Ndoye just didn't look all there, to be honest. And Nick Matthews saying Clark all day. Yeah, I'll get to my pick here in a second, but I don't disagree. Maybe. We'll see. All of his fights have been with Bellator 3-0. With Bellator, has a last loss to Magomed Magomedov, who we all know is a very good professional fighter. Lost by decision as an amateur to him. So good level of amateur experience facing guys with like 16-3, beat a 16-3 amateur fighter. Yeah, just like really interesting. Overall, another thing I really like is he lost 13 of his fights as an amateur. He made his mistake as an amateur. I think he only won 11 fights as an amateur. I think he went 11-13 as an amateur, but that's where you make the mistakes. He looks to be very polished as a pro. So that's kind of my thing there. But again, he's a guy who's lost 13 times as an amateur. So that is where you want to lose. But I don't know if I can say Clark all day like Nick Mathis here. I think this is going to be a really close, gritty fight, and it's who wins 2 rounds. And yeah, I think James Barton has shown that wrestling has really possibly improved and was good in the Hendon fight as well. But that's kind of guy who, after you face Hendon, you either take those levels up or you accept this is how people are going to beat me. And I mean, we didn't get to see it with the knockout there, but what are your thoughts on Barton and this fight overall?
Oh, it's an exciting one for me. Barton for me is, as I think you've hit the nail on the head. He's a brawler. He likes to scrap. He likes to fight more than so an athlete. Whereas Kieran Clark comes with a game plan, and that's the difference. It's a real tough fight for Barton. I would call this a pick and fight. I've got to back Barton on this because what he showed against Hendon was a lot of frustration, and I know he's learned from it. And the defensive wrestling he's got is a lot better than when he fought Hendon. And I think Hendon at the time as well only had a couple of fights on his record. And we've seen what he's done since then. You know, he went to the Wild with Paul Hughes, and Paul Hughes has just won the belt, off Morgan Charrier, so in Cage Warriors. So he's fought a lot of good people for a low-rated record, if that makes sense. He hasn't got the amateur pedigree, obviously Kieran does, but it's still a phenomenal record for the people he's beaten and faced. So I'm going to back Barton, but it is a pick-em.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Barton. I'm going to pick Kieran Clark in this one. So we are going to have our third disagreement here. It is nearly a pick-em. Kieran Clark has edged out as a favorite now at -125, -105 on Barton. So they're expecting this to be a very close fight. Respect to Nick for saying Clark all day. But yeah, this is
that's brave. But yeah,
I would not say all day, but I will lean towards Clark with the wrestling to be able to control and get it done. He does look like he's a bit bigger, but we'll kind of see at weigh-ins as we get closer. But good fight there, 3-0 against 6-1-1. Last fight on the prelim here, the 12th and final one is another kind of weird one to definitely headline the prelims at 155. It is Daniel Scatizzi taking on Brian Hoy. So two very difficult names to say. Brian versus Daniel, I'll say. But I will be breaking down Brian Hoy first here, the Dutch product. The Dutch product, I believe, yes, out of Rotterdam, Netherlands, fighting with Ruthless Fight Company, 27 years old, just turned 27, 5'10", 155, taking on the foe, 5'10", 155, arrive Italy, and Danielle Scatizzi Scat up against Hui Boy. Funny nicknames. But Brian Hoy, 16-7, as I said, 27 years old, coming off a win against Joe Cummins with Battle Arena. Joe Cummins 6-1. Looked really good in that fight. Was very close several times to finishing with the rear naked chokes. Hey, Thamaris, good to see you here. Thanks as always for stopping by. Thamaris is great. Glad you're here. Brian Hoy fought quite a bit, alternated wins and losses going back to 2017. Lost a split to Eric Da Silva. Ended up beating a 10-4 Paulo Bor. Lost to a Victor Kolisin, 13-3 opponent, got knocked out. 6-1 Islam Kalapilov in the next fight. Then he lost to a 10-2 Eldar Eldarov, and then again got a decision last March against Joe Cummins. Was supposed to come back and fight Davey Gallen, who we just got in a big underdog spot in his last spot out against Kane Musa. Supposed to fight Davey Gallen. That'd still be a good fight. Hoy tested positive for COVID. More of a grappler, does have good, powerful strikes, but typically uses the strikes to get inside on the grappling, get on top, use his top game and submission game. Danielle Scatizzi, also a grappler, with kind of some, these guys mirror each other in quite some ways. So Scatizzi, same way, a grappler first, uses strikes to close the distance to get into his grappling. 10-5, 28 years old, so similar ages. Won his last fight out against a British fighter, Gavin Hughes. Big upset there. Caught him in a guillotine. He was being lazy with his head position on the takedown and caught him in the guillotine. Lost his Bellator debut to Alfie Davis by decision. No shame there. Had a really good fight with Charlie Leary. I watched with Brave CF. Was controlling Charlie Leary for quite a bit of that fight. Third round, Charlie Leary ended up landing a sledgehammer, knocking him out clean. But Danielle was up 2 rounds in that fight. Good fight there for sure. lets you know a lot. I mean, Danielle's going to go in there and try to get the grappling, try to get the wrestling, kind of shoots for takedowns a little bit desperately at some points. Losses to guys like Marvin Vittori, Jarrah Hussein Al-Sawai, Alfie Davis, Charlie Leary, really good level of competition to lose to. Not quite sure if Brian Hoy is in that level of competition. And not to use MMA math or anything, I just think these guys mirror each other a lot. This one to me feels similar. Another pick 'em to me. I'm going to edge with the Italian Scatizzi though.
No, I agree with you completely. I think it's such a close fight. Daniel's just fought a lot more people that are at the level the record suggests.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason he's got these losses. He's not just fought, tomato cans. He has fought legit people.
No, and Charlie Leary, again, I can't stress enough. You could go watch that fight right now. He was up 2 rounds in that fight.
Yeah, comfortably.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a complete knockout. I mean, it was a solid right hand that went through his jaw, but I mean, it's still like not at all a fight to hang your head on. We've seen Charlie Leary, and how well he's doing. He beat both these guys, frankly.
But no, we agree with that one, man.
Yep. Well, what up? But it's all good. It's been a confusing day with the time. I said it was starting at 3, then it was starting at 4. Luckily, Waverly Coleman stayed in because at like 3:45, he was like, I guess there's no breakdown today. I apologize, guys. I'm going to learn how time zones work eventually. We should all be on the same time. It just would be one global time. That would make everything very easy, right? No, that makes no sense. But that is the end of our 12-fight prelim breakdown. We're on to the 3-fight main card. I don't understand at all. I agree, Waverly. Good luck sticking around. But gonna go ahead and start the main card. As of now, 3-fight main card starts out at 145 pounds. Daniel Weichel taking on Pedro Carvalho. Pedro Carvalho. I can't get this guy's fights right until he fought JJ. Finally, I got that one right. But in general, Pedro Carvalho fights, not reading them all that greatly. But 11-5 now for the Portuguese fighter. I have SBG Ireland, of course. This is like last week when it was all the Russian fighters. Taking on MMA Spirit representative Daniel Weichel Drake here. 41-12 against 11-5. That is crazy. Pedro the Game Carvalho first here. I was shocked. He's only 26 years old. I don't know why I thought he was older. He kind of looks like he's older. I'm not sure what. That's just me. Last fought in April of this year. Got ground and pound finished by J.J. Wilson in that fight. J.J. Wilson came in on short notice. That fight originally was supposed to fight Daniel Weichel, so they ran it back here. Lost to Patricio Pitbull in the so actually I've gotten the last couple right of him. Patricio Pitbull knocked him out in the featherweight Grand Prix tournament, clean right hand to start out that, and that was only in November of last year. 2 knockouts in a row, pretty vicious knockouts as well. Wins over Sam Sicilia and Derek Campos being his best wins in his career. Frankly, not all that impressed there. He just seems a little bit frail, to be honest with you. Seems a little bit brittle for the 145 division. And yeah, Glover, there's Glover and then there's everybody else though. Okay. Glover is just a different type of animal. But yeah, Pedro Carvalho, just, a very methodical striker, has a decent ground game, but much more known for his striking, his distance control and movement here. Needs space to work, and Daniel Weichel is not going to be giving him space in this fight at all. I mean, that's just not something he does ever. Fights like a Wolverine in most of his fights. 41-12, such a sick record. 36 years old for the German product here. Won his last fight out. I mean, the guy is not a finisher. He's not. You're going to see a lot of split decisions on his record, a lot of decisions in general. Went over Saul Rogers by decision. Lost to Emmanuel Sanchez, Goti Yamuchi, and Patricio Pitbull. He got a split decision against Patricio Pitbull and Gochi Yamuchi, though. that is really high-level stuff. Split against John Teixeira as well. Arm triangle, Brian Moore. Split against Emmanuel Sanchez. Again, another decision over Georgie K. Split against Pat Kieran. This guy just has so many splits. Will try to mix in the grappling as well. I just think he looks to crowd, use the volume, not allow Pedro to get comfortable, set his feet, and throw the kicks. If he throws the kicks, catching him, getting it to the ground. This is Daniel Weichel by unanimous decision.
I was about to add that it has to be by decision, though.
It has to be. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, Daniel, the decision maker here.
Yeah, that should be
plenty of tape on Daniel Weichel. There's plenty of tape on Daniel Weichel.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, to be honest. I think the swarming patterns he presents in these fights is so.
I am so off the hype train of Pedro Carvalho.
Yeah,
that
he crumbles, man. He's a crumble.
Dude, he does. Yeah, Daniel might be able to get a finish in this fight. That's a really good point. He does not like getting hit. I know it sounds stupid, but
no, I could easily see a ground and pound finish.
Yeah,
I can just imagine it in my head that he just breaks against the cage, he gets a trip, hits the floor.
I can't believe that Pedro Carvalho is only 26. Is that just me?
Yeah, he looked about 46, doesn't he?
Right. Yeah, like his body looked older and frail, and like maybe it's just like the pale, skinny, bald guy. So maybe that's like the look, but he looks like he should be a bantamweight, but it probably has no way of getting down to that.
Yeah. I think that's another point as well. The physique, the strength,
the experience. He's got experience over everyone, but he's fought everyone. He's not going to be afraid to do anything, and I think he'll be able to implement his game onto Pedro, and Pedro's just going to apple crumble it down. So.
I mean, to come back from a Patricio knockout to the next time fight him to a split decision is just
pretty
a serious level of Daniel Weichel. At first, I was shocked by this price, and now the more I've looked into this, I just don't know how Pedro Carvalho wins this fight other than a knockout. Daniel Weichel minus 240 favorite.
When does he get knocked out as well?
Right, he doesn't, but he fights a lot of splits, and splits make me nervous. When you're betting a minus 240, a split makes me nervous. And anytime you're betting Daniel Weichel, you're betting that it's going to be a close fight because that's just what he does. Yeah. So this is not an undeniable guy here. At minus 240, I'll put it in some parlays. I'm not putting it in all of them or a lot of them, just because I don't want to sweat a minus 240. If I'm betting a minus 200 or higher, I'm not betting them with the thought that there's a 70 to 80% chance I'm hearing both guys' names as the scorecards are being read. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of buyer beware there with Daniel, but it seems the price is perfect. Minus 240. I was hoping to see a minus 115 type of pick 'em, but it's just not happening. I will say this co-main event is awesome. At one point, this co-main event was, I think, being pitched as the main event for Dublin until they made the other fight the title fight. But James Gallagher, Patchy Mix, I apologize there. Patchy Mix at 135 here, battle of two of the best up-and-coming grapplers in the division here. This matchmaking, they've been circling each other for a while here. 11-1 James Gallagher, 25 years old, taking on the 28-year-old No Love Patchy Mix, 14-1 out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Jackson Winklejohn versus, you guessed it, SBG Ireland. 5'8", 67-inch reach versus a 72-inch 72-inch reach 5'11 Patchy Mix. I'll be breaking down Patchy first, 14-1. Got a rebound win after his title decision loss to Juan Archuleta in September of last year. Got a win over Albert Morales in the third round by arm triangle. Former UFC competitor Albert Morales looked really good in that fight, just controlled it all the way through. I liked seeing the third round for him after the decision because he's shown he can go in and get those grappling wins in the first round. You're going to see a ton of them. Sulimov, stretch finishes. You don't see that a lot. Guillotines, rear naked chokes, knee bars. But a few of them have come in the third round. That's definitely something I like, is he's relentless with the finish. A win over Andre Ewell back in 2017 by first round rear naked choke. Very impressive there. I mean, Patchy Mix is the real deal and huge for the division, 5'11", 72-inch reach. The striking, it doesn't have to be that great, especially against a guy like James Gallagher. It's got to be there enough to keep his respect, which I do think it does. James Gallagher, we saw with another lengthy striker in Ricky Bandejas, how that went for him. Now, that's about as bad as it can go. I get it. And that was a first-round blitzing, but I do think that James Gallagher is going to continue to struggle with longer, rangier guys who can use the striking and grappling in that way, which is what Patchy's going to do. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of finishes went to a decision two times, prior to his championship fight. But for the most part, goes in there, gets the finish with the grappling. This could be kind of a battle of who can stay on top. But I think even if it does go to the ground, I think it's going to be a lot of scrambles from both guys and end up resulting in this probably being on the feet. So that's where it gets a little more interesting. Neither guy is crazy outstanding on the feet, but just James Gallagher is a little bit worse on the feet, I'll be honest. The Ricky Bandejas fight obviously was his worst moments there. But the guys he's fought since then, Stephen Graham, Jeremiah Labiano, Roman Salazar, all guys that are okay, like nothing. Cal Eleanor, again, not that special of an opponent. This is a serious step up here. I would have liked to see how he did against an Adam Borik's type of opponent as well, but, gets in there, tries to get your back and get the rear naked choke.
Pretty much always does.
And pretty much always does, and quickly.
Yeah.
First round finishes. Yeah. So when it didn't go well, we saw the Ricky Bandejas fight. This is one that I think is much closer than most people are giving it credit for. I think people don't like Jeremiah Gallagher, so they want to see him get humiliated. Patchy Mix, definitely a fan favorite. I would lean towards Patchy. I'm not betting it at this price. I think it's really close. Most likely ends up going to a decision, even though both guys are finishers. I think both guys are pretty good defensively here on the ground, and I just don't see a KO finish. So I'll say Patchy Mix by decision, but not one I'm looking to bet too heavily. I think it's a close fight, and I have a feeling the odds are going to be significantly with Patchy.
Yeah, I would stay away from this fight because I don't think it's going to be a close fight in the sense of performance-wise. I think it's either going to be James Gallagher because he comes out the gate hot. He just fires straight away, gets what he wants, applies his will, and dominates you. He's either going to do that to Patchy and make it look easy, or Patchy's going to do it to him in one way or the other. I think it could cancel each other out if he can't get the takedown. If he can't get it,
then it turns into a slog.
And then it turns into a Ben Askren, Damian Maia. It's just, but James is improving in his striking every time you see him, but it's not improving the way I think most of his fans would like to see him. When he had 4 or 5 fights, you could understand the lack of striking. But when he's got 12 fights and he's demanding, title shots, he's the Conor McGregor wannabe, on social. You'd expect him to have a little more crisper striking. He's kind of got the Dylan Dennis mouth, but he can back it up, if that makes sense, with the jiu-jitsu. This is Patchy's to lose for me. He's got the experience of fighting, in my opinion, slightly better guys, especially for against Juan Angeletta, which is his first taste of defeat from amateur or pro. I mean, that is
right.
And he didn't get whooped. Whereas James, when he did taste it, he got humbled big time. He went, okay, I'm not a striker. That's what he said to himself. I was pretending. So I'm going to back an underdog here based on how fast he comes out. And he could Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen style. Do you know what I mean? If they refought, would you reckon the odds would be really close? I do.
Corey Sandhagen would be a favorite. Honestly.
But Aljamain tapped him in 90 seconds the first time because he blitzed out the gate and piggybacked him. And I think James could do a similar thing to Patchy here and just get him over and done with that.
At this price, you're talking, minus 360 on Patchy Mix, plus 255 on James Gallagher. That is crazy to me. Another X factor here for me is Patchy Mix seems very disregarding of James Gallagher, and that's a trap. That's a trap. And I'm still not picking Gallagher. I'm picking Mix. I'm just going to leave it alone for the most part, honestly.
Yeah.
Because at minus 365, I can't bet it. I think this is two grappler. I personally see it as the Damian Maia Ben Askren fight coming up. So, you know, and as much as James could come in there and do that to Patricky can come in there and do that to James as well. There's a lot of mirror matchups on this card. I will say this. My typical habit with mirror matchups is I lean towards the decision happening when it's mirror matchups. So if I kind of say that a lot, or you've heard that before, that typically is how I read high level opponents who mirror each other. Is that it can end up going to the spot both are less good in, resulting in a decision because both are, you know, not stand-up guys. And I don't think a knockout necessarily comes from either. But I think Patchy's more likely to get the knockout on the feet for sure.
Another option, it could look like Chiesa Luque, whereas like Chiesa got his back and nearly tapped him, and then 20 seconds later he's getting Darce choked. And that's
exactly. There's sweeps there will be sweeps in this fight, but good co-main event. Got a good main event as well here. 155 title on the line between Patricky, not Patricio, but Patricky PItbull versus Peter Queally. It's the second time they're fighting. Peter Queally won the first time with that cut. Really good fight until the cut stopped in between rounds. But I thought Peter Queally was definitely turning the corner and winning that fight. No problem. You say Luque and Bunny will come. Bunny will come running because, Luque is awesome. I can't wait to see him back in there very, very soon. But, that Luque fight, you don't even have to be specific about what Luque fight. You can just say that Luque fight and then just choose the one you want to talk about. But Patricky PItbull, 23-10 now for the 35-year-old, 5'7", 71-inch reach PItbull brother, obviously training on PItbull brothers. 2 straight losses, the Queally loss, and then Tofik Musayev with Ryzen by decision. Tofik is a very good fighter, no shame in that one. Patricky, he got me into Bellator, man. We go way, way back. I remember watching him knock out Rob McCullough. Yep, Rob McCullough back in 2011. And then Toby Amada and flying knee knockout. Took on Michael Chandler in a fight. Kurt Pellegrino knocked him out. You look at the type of guys he's fought for how long he's been doing it. And it's just, it's pretty crazy. Still definitely known for his knockout power, but I think he's gotten a little more patient as he's gone on. I think the patient striking kind of cost him against Tofik Musayev, honestly. If he was more assertive with it, he could have taken that decision. Peter Queally, it was a tough go that last time out, honestly. The length and size of Peter seemed to really, really stifle PItbull, but then PItbull realized I can wrestle and started getting the wrestling at the end of the first round, got the wrestling going at the end of the second round, and then the doctor said, no more, you got a cut on your eye. We're stopping it. I thought it was a legit stoppage, though. But, coming into this fight, I think that's what Patricky realizes is that it's not going to be enough for him just to use the power, stalk down Peter Queally. He's not going to be able to intimidate him in that way. Peter Queally was calling out Patricio after the fight. I think that's still who Peter Queally wants to be fighting. If you get through Patricky here, you're going to get Patricio after that, and then you can be known as the PItbull killer, possibly. But, this is with Patricky, still has that knockout power, knocked out Kawajiri and Roger Huerta and Derek Campos in his last 3 for knockouts. You see the couple splits, though, and that is from when he kind of tries to temper his pace and go the 5-round or go the full distance here. And those were in 3-round fights. This is a 5-round fight here. So I don't think Patricky can just say, I'm going to wrestle this time, become a wrestler and grapple him, because that takes a ton of gas. And Peter Queally is going to have the cardio on his side. This is now a 5-round fight. That's a huge advantage for Peter Queally. Peter Queally 13-5-1 now for the showstopper here. Big, huge fight for the 32-year-old here. 5'10", 74.5-inch reach, so 4-inch reach advantage for him here. against Patricky. He's felt the power of Patricky here. Knocked out Ryan Scope prior to that. Ryan Scope went to a split decision with Patricky, actually. Had a split with Miles Price as well. Who's the better fighter? Indigo is asking, who's the better fighter, Patricky or you mean Patricio, I assume? I'd say Patricio is the better fighter, especially at this point in their careers. He's much more well-rounded, but both guys are good. I feel like Patricky's gotten a little bit too shit on as the shitty Pitbull brother. It's kind of rough because, I mean, it's just – but Patricio is one of the best fighters in the world. So, and I think Patricky is just outside of kind of that. It's all good, Indigo. I knew what you meant. But, yeah, I like Peter Queally in this spot here. 5 rounds is a huge factor for me. I think that Peter feeling the power of Patricky in that last fight, knowing he has to kind of work on that takedown defense a little bit because that is, I think, where Patricky looks to attack this fight. I just think over 5 rounds, betting on Patricky to be able to wrestle for all that time is kind of rough. So you're looking at the KO. That is always possible with Patricky. He still has KO power. A part of me wonders if the game plan of trying to pace himself is going to bite him a little bit. Peter Queally ends up kind of increasing the pace as he goes on, kind of takes the first round much more cautious. It's the most dangerous Patricky is going to be, turns it up by the round here. And then, yeah, so I'm going to take Peter Queally. Back-to-back Patricky Pitbull wins here. Calls out Patricio. Patricio versus Peter Queally would be an amazing fight as well. If Peter Queally has to fight AJ McKee, though, oh boy, that's going to be trouble because AJ McKee's going to buzzsaw through either one of these guys if they win and McKee decides to go up. But I'll take Peter Queally. I looked at the odds and was shocked.
What are the odds before I tell you my pick?
Yeah, so the odds, Peter Queally is a massive underdog.
Okay. I think that's the Pitbull name.
I mean, plus 170, minus 225 on Patricky Pitbull here. I think it should be much closer based on that first fight when Queally was turning the corner at the 3rd round. That was a 3-round fight. This is going to be a 5-round fight now. It is Peter Quelly's first 5-round fight, but I do think Peter Queally looks to be in good shape. Cardio never seems to be an issue for me. If Patricky can get that wrestling going, can he keep it going to win 3 of 5 rounds? I don't think so.
And if he can get it going early, he'll have to finish early. If he turns back the clocks and becomes a little more reckless, trying to take a shot to give a shot, I think he's got a bit more power, so he could definitely.
Yeah.
He's got the finish capability. I don't know whether he can because he's changed.
Is Peter going to just stand in the phone booth too and just trade with Patricky?
No chance.
He's going to be on his bike the whole time.
Exactly.
Circling away from that
He's going to frustrate Pitbull. That's what I think he's going to do. And then I think it will leave the gaps open and it will tire him out when he has to panic. And, by round 3, I think it will be a full decision. I think it'll be a 5-round decision. And I think by round 3, Patricky's going to, I'm a round or 2 down. I've got to do something. Expose himself. You see it all the time with these guys. They always ask coaches, how many rounds am I down? The coach says, don't worry about that.
Yeah. And Patricky is 36, 37 years old now. He's been in so many wars. They catch up to you. Peter Queally, 32, not too much younger, but a significant amount of mileage less.
He's a bogey guy, There's always that one guy their style just absolutely compromises you completely.
Yeah.
And,
I think
it might be one of them.
This would be a huge win for Peter. It would set up the rest of his career to be able to basically fight Pitbull brothers, which is rough. But, either way, I think it's a really good main event. Well-deserved by Peter Queally to be in this spot here. Before we go, I am going to do good old quick picks. First of all, we're up to 15 people joining us now. So thank you to everybody joining us. I apologize for not knowing the proper time to start. I'll get better with that as we go. But Indigo, good to see you here for the first time. Waverly. Boston Comments, are you new to these parts? I'm not sure if I've seen you before. But either way, it's been a great breakdown, Lewis. I've had a great time talking through these fights. They are on Friday afternoon. Because it is taking place in Dublin. we're going to do quick picks, and then we're going to say goodbye. Again, timestamps in the description, as always. If you don't want to hear my yapping or whatever else, or you want to skip around, all those are here. But quick picks, starting at 185, we both have Fabian Edwards, both on Gokhan Sarikam over Rob Beach. Rob Beach is a bitch. Asael Adejoye against Kier Harvey. Our first split here. I have Asael, you have Kier Harvey. Next up at 170, Nicole Soli versus Bobby Pallett, both on Bobby Pallett here. Lee Chadwick against Arunas Adesevikas at 205. We're on Arunas here, going against the English journeyman. Next up, 170, Ashley Reese against Luka Puklit. I got Luka Puklit. I'm falling for the 6-1 Moldovan. You got Ashley Reese in that one. Elias Boulade versus George Sazoos. I got George Sazoos. Gonna go against my earlier pick of the kickboxer being the wrestler and taking the wrestler over the kickboxer. Watch Kieran come in and Boulade come in. You got Boulade in that fight. Next up, our biggest fight of the night, Ono Stephen Costello against Ono Youssef Nazakatov. I'll learn how to say his name if he wins. You got Youssef. I got Stephen Costello, obviously. Next one, 145, Junior Morgan against Durai Kelly. I'll learn how to say his first name better once I can hear it from an announcer I can understand. We both got Kelly here, legit prospect making his debut. Danny Nealon against Audrey Kirichet. Danny Nealon for both of us, even though the odds are stupid. Kieran Clark versus Jordan Barton. I got Kieran Clark in this one. Another wrestling decision type of setup. You got Jordan Barton to be able to fight through. Part of me hopes you're right in that one. Daniel Scatizzi against Brian Hui. We both got Daniel Scatizzi, the underdog Italian grappler here. A better level of competition. Brian Hui, though, 27, both these guys in their mid-20s in their prime, so we'll see. Main card time, Daniel Weichel versus Pedro Carvalho. We're on Daniel Weichel, and maybe I'm betting him inside the distance. Next, Patchy Mix versus James Gallagher. I got Patchy Mix. You got James Gallagher to come out and snatch the neck. And then our 15th and final fight, Peter Queally versus Patricky PItbull. We're both on Peter Queally here. And I like Peter Queally by decision. I think the 5 rounds is hugely in Peter Quelly's corner, even though Patricky is the one with 5-round experience. So that will do it. That was quick picks. It was just there's 15 fights. So that's just kind of how we do it. But everybody, definitely, if you're not already subscribed to Norton MMA, subscribe to Norton MMA. Lewis is doing great work over there. Tons of hypothetical matchups. Talking about Islam Makhachev this week was really fun to always check out those videos. But talk about what to do with fighters next. Definitely unique looks at MMA from a guy himself with combat sports experience, unlike myself, who just sits here and watches fights and talks about this guy being trash and that guy being trash. You know what, Aaron? You're trash. You guys are all right. But
jiu-jitsu classes, that's it.
Hey, exactly. I mean, there was a time where I was all signed up for those. Something got in the way there, but coming up on your channel soon. You want people to know about. Thank you all again for joining us. Cheers, everybody out there. It is 5 o'clock here, so I can indulge. But Lewis, anything coming up over on Norton MMA you want to let the people know about?
Yeah, we just released the new what's next for Hamzat and Islam. You got to get these Russian-born guys on there.
Nice, timid comment section of those, as always,
man.
I'm sure.
Yeah, always. And
they don't care about their fighters.
Hypothetical fights coming up. Always a who wins section, and we've got an MMA show coming up next Monday. So
yep,
you should check that out.
Is the MMA show on podcast or just on
just YouTube?
Okay, just YouTube. Yeah, so definitely check out that. I've been on the MMA show. Went all over the place on my episode. Shocking enough. And then tomorrow I will be back with Lucky Locks MMA. We're going to be breaking down the LFA card taking place this Friday. And then on Thursday, I believe I will be breaking down UFC 268 with Boston Commons herself, Bonnie. Might be going to that one live. So going to have a little bit more invested in that. So again, LFA breakdown tomorrow at about 3 o'clock with Lucky Locks. And then 7 p.m. on Thursday, I'll clear up the time and official day and everything. But pretty sure it'll be Thursday. So yeah, that's all coming up on the channel. Contender Series breakdown on the channel right now. We've been killing on the Contender Series. I've missed 4 picks this year of my bets. I missed 4 bets. So like it's not gonna last. Go ahead and check that out over there. Lucky Lock's also killing it. So yeah, the channel keeps rolling here. We're up to 261 subscribers. Tell your friends, guys. Let's get the 268 by 268 breakdown. I just want like 7 more by Thursday. That's it. So, but honestly, the fact that I'm at 261 blows my mind. People keep finding the channel, and I really appreciate it. So I could keep babbling on, but I'll save you all the rest of the. Enjoy the fights. Contender Series starting in 2.5 hours, so plenty of time left to check out the video, get your bets in there. But yeah, should be a really good one. But yeah, Johan Lioness, bet him. Plus 275. Bet Johan Lioness tonight. He's taking on Justin Burleson, so taking on a very good guy on the Contender Series, former Cage Warrior guy. I know you're familiar with him, but I'm telling you, Johan is the truth. So White Lion plus 275. Go bet him. But for Lewis, for Aaron, keep taking care of each other out there and have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for joining.